Ford, Chevy, and Dodge, all creators of the infamous diesel engine, an engine that has been around for over 100 years. But which creator is the most reliable? Well, that is what we're going to be finding out in today's video, asking this diesel repair shop owner in Bryan, Texas, what is the most reliable diesel truck? We are outside of Asher Automotive once again doing another video for you guys. Which one is the most reliable diesel? You guys saw in the last most popular video I have on my channel, we did the most unreliable diesel, and in today's video we're doing the most reliable. This is Paul, the manager of the shop. He sees the everyday operations, and this is Robert, the shop foreman. He actually does majority of the work on the trucks. So they're going to be talking about exactly what they see the less of in here, the least amount of trucks in here, and also what you guys can do to make your truck more reliable maintenance wise. Without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump into it. I'm going to be asking them some questions. Stay tuned. So Paul, what is the diesel truck that you see the least of here?
The least of, I'm going to say probably for major repairs, it's going to be the Ford 7.3. It's just the most reliable engine diesel wise that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So Ford made a huge mistake in my mind going to the 6.0 and then to the 6.4.
I owned a 7.3 and I got mine to 500K, so I can definitely attest to that, and I do agree with that statement because my 7.3 lasted so long. So Paul, what is the most reliable brand in your opinion?
So for me, it's the newer Dodges. We just don't see as many of those. Some of the older Chevys, kind of the same thing, the 6.6 Duramax, the 6.7 Dodge. We just don't see many issues with those coming out right now. And it may be just a result of we just don't see that many of them. So they may have their issues and their problems, but we don't see those. The
only bad thing I saw about the 7.3 was obviously power. So you had mentioned that the power difference in the 7.3 and the 6.7 is night and day. What about between the 6.7 and Dodge and the 6.7 Powerstroke?
So for me, I think the Dodge has a slight more power advantage when it comes to horsepower. However, when it comes to low-end torque, towing power, things like that, I think the Ford still takes it. So
this is Robert. He is the shop floorman here. I'm gonna ask him also a couple questions about what is the most reliable diesel in here. For the engines that do come in here that are the most reliable, what parts of the engine makes them more reliable? Like I know the 6.0 is the reason they're a lot unreliable is like the newer emissions that they had to put on it. Is that for all vehicles, or like what do you see is the most unreliable part, I guess you could say, on the newer diesels?
It's going to be the emissions. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I've heard the fuel systems too.
Fuel system, depth system, but the emissions part, the exhaust now. Yeah. To me, that's the most unreliable across the board on all of it. As
a diesel owner myself, I know a lot of people watching this are diesel owners. What could they do to their diesel truck to actually make it more reliable?
Maintain. Put some diesel conditioner in it.
How often do you recommend maintenance items? So like fuel filters, oil filters, tire rotation, stuff like that?
For oil and all that, your 5,000 miles. Yeah. Tires, probably every other oil change, go ahead and do that. And then also recommend changing the oil separator probably every 40 to 50,000 miles, which is one thing people forget about.
Yeah. So in your opinion, I know I asked Paul this question, what engine, so I know the Ford has a 7.3, but in your opinion, is the 7.3 also the most reliable engine out of all diesel trucks in general?
I'd say the 7.3 or the older Duramaxes probably. Okay. They had electrical issues, but yeah, they were pretty strong vehicles also.
Okay, so you'd say the Duramaxes and the 7.3 Powerstroke was the most reliable. Older Duramaxes was the most reliable. Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, the older ones are better. Emissions messed up a lot of things, but it's just how people maintain them. That's what I've seen.
All these engines that come in here, they all have their issues no matter what engine they are, 7.3 or the newer 6.7s. But what is the biggest repairs that you guys see per truck?
So the major repair we see, let's just start with the 7.3, the one we said was the most reliable. Pretty much the only thing we really see with it is, the injector cups wear out. If you've ever seen oil or diesel in your coolant, it turns your coolant bottle black. That's a sign that your cups are leaking.
What can people do to try to prevent that?
So there really is no prevention for that. The diesel fuels we use have horrible sulfur content. It's going to wear those parts anyway. I mean, I've seen them last 20, 25 years before they wear out. It's not something that happens all the time. That just tells you how reliable that engine is, that's really the thing we see the most of.
Yeah.
Discount the brakes and other things that wear out over time too, but by and large we don't see much on that. When you go further into like the 6.6 Duramax, the Chevrolets, again, you run into electrical gremlins, you run into fuel system issues, things like that with those. Maintenance is key. If you can maintain your vehicle properly and do the filters and do the services that you need, fluid change is a big thing in these things. Always change the fluids, brake fluid, power steering fluid, coolant. Make sure you change those on the regular intervals.
So I just recently changed my transmission fluid on my 6.7
5.7 Powerstroke, and I had a lot of people telling me that I should never change my transmission fluid because it'll like push all the debris that was in my transmission and cause my transmission to slip. Do you agree with that statement?
Yes, we have a rule here at our shop. If basically a transmission hasn't been serviced and the vehicle is over 125,000 miles, we have no proof that it's ever been serviced. We will recommend not servicing that transmission for that very reason, because we've seen transmissions fail rather quickly after we've done fluid changes, flushes, things like that.
How long do you give it though if it's never been maintenance like ever? Like how long do you give the transmission before it decides to take a dump on you?
So if you're over that 125,000 mark, again, for us, we won't touch it. We'll tell you to just drive it until it quits.
How many miles do you see it quit at?
I've seen them go 300,000-400,000 miles
With the original fluid? Holy cow.
Absolutely.
That's
so
crazy.
The biggest problems you run with the original fluid is you'll get so much debris that you'll have pressure loss, you'll have a backup, you'll have a clogged filter where the fluid won't go pressurized as fast as it needs to be and build up so that it'll shift properly. So, but other than that, like I said, you run more of a risk changing the fluid because of all that debris that's already in the system and pushing it into areas where it will clog up and cause damage to the transmission. You're better off just driving it till it quits.
Yeah. I kind of have an off-topic question, but what is like the craziest thing you have seen problem-wise on a diesel? Like, has it been like blown pistons? Like, what is the craziest thing that in this shop you have seen the worst of?
So the worst thing for anyone, in my mind, just because it costs so much and it happens so frequently, is the CP4 fuel system pumps.
What about like that's the worst thing that you guys have seen in the shop all time, or?
That's kind of a loaded question. When I say worse, I mean, I've seen rods go through blocks and things like that. I had a Camaro 6.2 in here, literally threw a rod through the block. I mean, that's an engine swap. So what I'm talking about is things that happen to us. We do probably 3 or 4 of these a month. They cost somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000. That's a big pill to swallow for any customer. So the problem is the manufacturers know they're a problem, and they still continue to produce these vehicles with that CP4 pump.
What do you recommend? Like, do you recommend a DCR conversion on that, or do you recommend just a complete elimination of the pump?
So different people have tried going to a conversion. We don't do too many of those, so I don't have enough information to tell you that that's going to work. The CP3 pump was actually a much better product as far as its longevity and tolerance for issues, debris, sulfur content, and diesel fuels. My recommendation for anybody who's got a CP4 is find you a fuel conditioner and use it from day one.
Total wrap up of this entire video is what is the most reliable diesel, and in your opinion, so break down exactly so the viewer knows what brand do you think is the most reliable, and then what engine of that brand is the most reliable? Just one, if you could choose.
Yeah, if I had to choose, like I said, late 90s, early 2000 Ford F250, F350 with the 7.3 in it.
Okay,
so
awesome. Well, that's the wrap, guys. You guys heard it here. Also, Robert said it as well. The 7.3 is just hands down the most reliable engine that they see here with the least problems. If you guys want to buy any of the fuel additive that they have, they are selling it here at their shop. It'll be linked in the description down below. Also, they do all the service, you guys can see behind me. This is all Asher Automotive, so if you guys want to bring your diesel truck into here to have it serviced or maintenance, you guys can as well. If you guys want to subscribe, you can, and thank you guys for watching. Peace out.